I never imagined the day I walked into that courtroom would be the day I stopped recognizing my own family. I pushed the heavy wooden doors open, the cold air rushing out as if the room itself had been waiting for me. My heart was punching in my chest. My palms were sweating. I had rehearsed my words 100 times, but nothing prepared me for what I saw. My daughter, my sweet little girl, who once cried in my arms because she scraped her knee, she looked at me and she laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a confused laugh, but a cold, sharp, cruel laugh, like she finally won something I didn't know we were even fighting for. At that exact moment, my son-in-law, the man I once welcomed like a son, refused to even look at me. He stared at the floor as if facing me would burn him. I froze, right there in front of the judge, the lawyers, everyone, and inside my chest, something cracked. Not because of the courtroom, not because of the accusations, but because two people I loved the most reacted in ways I never expected. My daughter laughed. My son-in-law looked away, and I realized I was alone. But I didn't know then that their reactions were only the beginning. I didn't know the truth hiding underneath their behavior would flip my entire world upside down. And I didn't know, not yet, that this entire courtroom showdown was a trap designed long before I even stepped inside. But I was about to uncover everything. My name is Richard, 58 years old, retired early. And for most of my life, I believe my only daughter, Emily, loved me the way I loved her. Everything I did, every sacrifice I made was for her. Her mom passed away when Emily was only 10. After that, it was just us. I worked double shifts so she could have what other kids had. Ballet classes, new shoes, birthday parties. I never let her feel the absence of a mother. She used to run into my arms every time I picked her up from school. Daddy, guess what happened today? Those were the days when her eyes still sparkled with innocence. Then she grew up, and like all parents, I had to adjust to the change. She became more private, more distant, but I told myself it was normal. Then she met Daniel, the man who would eventually become her husband, and the reason I ended up in that courtroom. Daniel was charming, polite. He impressed everyone, except me. There was something about him I couldn't place. A kind of emptiness in his smile, a practiced softness in his voice. But Emily loved him, and I loved Emily. So I welcomed him in. After they married, Emily visited less, called less, spoke less. At first, I thought she was simply busy building a life. But whenever she did visit, Daniel was the one who talked. Daniel was the one who answered for her. Daniel was the one who made decisions. And Emily, she just watched him, like she was afraid to speak. The first time I noticed that fear, I should have acted, but I didn't want to lose her trust. I didn't want to make her feel controlled. Ironically, that's exactly what they accused me of later. It all spiraled when Emily asked me for money, a large amount, something completely out of her character. When I asked what it was for, she snapped, a kind of anger I had never seen in her. Daniel tugged her arm, as if reminding her to stay quiet. That's when I realized something was wrong. I tried talking to her privately, but Daniel always appeared, interrupting, explaining, twisting things, making it look like I was overreacting. And then one day, I received a letter, a legal notice, accusing me of something I didn't even understand at first. Suddenly, my own daughter was taking me to court. And when I entered the courtroom, the daughter I raised alone, the child I loved more than life, laughed at me. I didn't know the truth yet, but I was about to. The moment I saw her laughter, I felt something break inside me. The judge cleared her throat and said, "Mr. Richard, please take your seat. We will begin." I sat down, still staring at Emily. Her eyes were empty, cold, like she had erased all our memories. Then the lawyer began reading the accusation. Emily and her husband, Daniel, claimed that Mr. Richard has been emotionally manipulative, financially controlling, and has intentionally withheld assets that legally belong to his daughter. I blinked hard. Manipulative? Controlling? Withholding assets? What assets? My voice trembled. This is a misunderstanding. Daniel smirked. Emily crossed her arms. The lawyer continued. They claim you promised them financial support, but instead use guilt, pressure, and psychological tactics to maintain control over them. I felt sick. Emily refused to meet my eyes. Daniel leaned back like he had already won. Then came the part that truly stabbed me. They also claim Mr. Richard tried to divide their marriage by repeatedly undermining Daniel, creating emotional distress, and attempting to drive a wedge between them. I couldn't breathe. Me? Trying to divide them? Daniel was the one isolating her. But who would believe me? My daughter suddenly wiped a fake tear and said, "He always does this. He always tries to control everything." That was the first moment I questioned everything I had done as a father. The first moment I wondered whether I had somehow failed her. The courtroom watched me with judgmental eyes. Daniel whispered into Emily's ear, and she nodded. My anger rose, not because they accused me, but because I could see, finally, unmistakably, the way she looked at him, as if she belonged to him, as if he owned her thoughts. The judge dismissed us for a short break. I walked out of the courtroom on shaking legs. Behind me, I heard laughter. Emily's laughter. I knew then something deep was going on, and I needed answers. During the break, I sat on a bench in the hallway trying to control my breathing. My whole body felt cold. Then I heard whispers. Emily's voice, but softer, smaller. Not the confident daughter inside that courtroom. I turned my head and saw her standing with Daniel around the corner, not noticing me. Daniel wasn't whispering. He was hissing. "Stick to the plan. Don't mess this up again." "I'm trying," Emily said in a trembling voice. "Trying isn't enough. We need this money." Money. So it was about money. Then Daniel grabbed her wrist. Hard. Emily winced. I stood up instantly. "Hey!" They both snapped around, startled. Emily stepped back like a terrified child. Daniel released her wrist in a split second, smiling at me like nothing had happened. "Just a family discussion," he said. But Emily's eyes told the real story. Fear, pain, guilt. I swallowed hard. "Emily, are you okay?" She looked at Daniel first, seeking permission to speak. That hurt more than anything. Daniel said, "She's fine. Aren't you, sweetheart?" Emily nodded quickly, but her hands shook. Something inside me snapped. Not anger, clarity. Daniel was controlling her, using her, manipulating her. And the lawsuit, the accusations, her sudden distance, all part of his plan. But why? That answer came unexpectedly, in the form of a phone notification. As Daniel walked past me, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, not realizing I could see the screen from the angle he held it. A message popped up. "Make sure she signs everything today. We need the money before next week. Don't let her back out. M." My stomach twisted. Who was M? Why did they need money before next week? Why was Emily being forced to sign something today? Daniel realized too late that I saw the message. His face drained of color. He quickly turned the screen away and shoved the phone into his pocket. "Stay out of our business," he snapped. But it was too late. I finally knew Emily wasn't my enemy. Daniel was, and he wasn't working alone. I stood there in the hallway, heart pounding, mind racing. For months I thought Emily had turned against me. For months I thought I had lost her love. But now I finally understood. She wasn't the enemy. She was a hostage. And Daniel was a puppeteer pulling every string. But he made one mistake, letting me see that message. I didn't yell. I didn't confront him. I didn't even show that I saw it. Because in that moment, a calmness washed over me. A sharp, cold clarity. They came here to set a trap for me. But I was going to walk them into one of my own. Not with violence. Not with anger. Not with shouting. But with truth and timing. I left the courthouse during the lunch break and drove to the one person who could help me. My late wife's sister, Linda, a lawyer, a smart one, a woman who loved Emily like her own child. When she opened the door and saw my face, she didn't even ask questions. "Sit," she said. "Tell me everything." I told her about the lawsuit, the accusations, the message on Daniel's phone, the way Emily looked at him with fear, not love, Linda's lips tightened. "That man is dangerous," she said quietly. "I warned Emily before the wedding." My heart sank. "You did?" She nodded. "Emily told me he always talked about money, about inheritance, about how you must be hiding something." Linda sighed. She said she had everything under control, that she loved him, that he would change. I closed my eyes. Parents think they know everything, but they don't. Linda stood up. "Listen carefully," she said, her voice sharp with determination. "If he's forcing her to sign something today, there must be documents involved. Financial documents, property, assets. But I don't have anything for him to take," I said softly. Linda raised an eyebrow. "No, but Emily doesn't know that. And Daniel is counting on fear, not facts." A plan formed in her mind, and when she told it to me, something inside me woke up, a spine I didn't know I still had, strength I thought grief had taken years ago. This was no longer about protecting myself. This was about saving my daughter. When the break ended, I walked back into the courthouse with a different posture. Straight, steady, unshaken. Daniel raised an eyebrow, surprised by my confidence. Emily looked confused and maybe a little hopeful. I sat down and waited. Just before the judge entered, I stood and spoke to the court clerk quietly. Then I walked back. Daniel smirked. "Changing your mind about fighting this?" he whispered. I gave him a small smile. "You'll see." He didn't like that. When the judge returned, the clerk stepped forward. "Your Honor," before continuing, "Mr. Richard has submitted a request to introduce new evidence." Daniel turned pale. Emily's eyes widened. The judge nodded. "Very well. What evidence?" I lifted my phone and pressed play. The courtroom filled with the sound of Daniel's voice. "Stick to the plan. We need the money. Make sure she signs everything today. Don't let her back out." Emily's trembling voice followed. "I'm trying." A gasp spread across the courtroom. The judge banged her gavel. "Order! Order!" Daniel shot to his feet. "That recording is illegal." The judge glared at him. "Actually, it's perfectly legal. This courthouse allows recordings on premises. Sit down." Emily covered her mouth in shock. It was the first step of my plan. And now, it was Daniel's turn to panic. Daniel's mask cracked instantly. For months, he had been the calm one, the strategist, the whisperer in Emily's ear. But now his composure melted like wax in a fire. He slammed his hands on the table. "He's twisting everything. This isn't..." The judge cut him off. "Mr. Daniel, unless you want to be removed, sit down." He sat, but he couldn't hide the fury burning across his face. "Emily," the judge said gently, "I need to ask you something important. Were you pressured in any way to file this complaint?" Emily looked at Daniel. He mouthed a single word. "No." Her lips trembled. But then, for the first time in years, she looked at me instead. "Emily," I whispered softly, "you're safe." Her shoulders shook. Then she exhaled, a long, shaky, exhausted breath. "Yes," she said finally, quietly, painfully, but not by my father. The entire room froze. Daniel's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" he hissed. Emily didn't look at him this time. She kept speaking, tears rolling down her cheeks. "He said we needed the money. He said Dad was hiding it. He said Dad owed us. He said..." She broke down, covering her face. "He said if I didn't go through with this, he'd leave me, leave her, threaten her marriage, her heart." Daniel jumped to his feet. "This is ridiculous. She's hysterical." But now the judge wasn't looking at Emily anymore. She was staring directly at him. "Mr. Daniel," she said slowly, "did you instruct Emily to sign documents today?" He swallowed. "No." The judge raised an eyebrow. "You're sure?" "Yes," he said quickly. "Absolutely." The clerk stepped forward. "Your Honor, security found in signed paperwork in Mr. Daniel's briefcase." The clerk handed the judge a file. Her eyes scanned the documents. Then she looked at Daniel with disgust. These are real estate transfer papers, power of attorney, and a release form for Mr. Richard to give up all rights to his savings. All of them require Emily's signature. The room erupted. Daniel turned white, ghost white. Emily stared at him in betrayal. "You told me it was just for protection," she whispered. Daniel finally lost control. "I did everything for us. For you. He owes us. He has money. I know he does." "He doesn't." Emily snapped through tears. "He never lied to me." "You did." Daniel grabbed her arm. Too hard. But before I could move, the bailiff was already there, pulling him back. "Let go of her, sir." Daniel shouted as they held him. "She's nothing without me. The old man is useless. We needed the money. She was supposed to." The judge raised her voice. "That is enough." Silence dropped. Emily sobbed. My heart tore, not from pain this time, but from the devastating truth. My daughter wasn't cruel. She wasn't greedy. She was trapped in a marriage built on manipulation, lies, and fear. Daniel looked around wildly. "You can't do this. I'm her husband." The judge's voice cut like a blade. "And you just admitted, in front of this entire courtroom, to coercion, fraud, and attempted financial exploitation." Emily covered her face. I stepped toward her slowly. The bailiffs dragged Daniel out as he yelled, "Emily, don't walk away from me. Emily." His voice echoed down the hallway. And then he was gone. For good. The courtroom fell silent again. Emily collapsed into a chair, shaking. I placed my hand gently on her shoulder. She didn't push me away. She whispered, "Dad, I'm so sorry." My heart broke in the best possible way. We walked out of the courthouse together. The same courthouse where she once laughed at me. But now she was crying in my arms. "Dad, I didn't know what to do," she whispered. "He kept telling me I owed him everything, that you were holding money from me, that you didn't want me to be happy." I stroked her hair gently like I used to when she was a child. "You never owed him anything," I said softly. "And you never owed me anything either. I just wanted you safe." She pulled back, eyes red. "How long did you know?" "Today," I admitted, "but I should have known sooner." She shook her head. "No, he hid everything from everyone. He made me feel small, guilty, wrong." I clenched my jaw. Emily listened to me. Love doesn't feel like fear. Love doesn't silence you. Love doesn't trap you. She closed her eyes as tears fell again. "I don't want to go back home," she whispered. "You're not," I said firmly. "Not alone. Not today. Not ever again." We drove to my house, the same house she grew up in. She walked through the doors slowly, like she was afraid everything might disappear. On the mantel stood a photo of us from years ago. Her first day of school. She touched it gently. "I miss her," she whispered. "The girl I used to be." I stood beside her. "She's still here," I said. "You just forgot her for a while." She breathed out a soft, painful sound. "I want my life back, Dad," she said. "I want myself back." I hugged her again. And this time, her laughter wasn't cruel. It was broken, fragile, but real. And for the first time in years, I felt hope. As days turned into weeks, Emily slowly began to heal. Therapy, support groups, long talks at the kitchen table. Just the two of us. There were setbacks. Nights she cried. Days she doubted herself. But every single time, she stood up again. And one evening, as we watched the sunset from the porch, she said something I'll never forget. "Dad, I always thought love meant giving up parts of yourself. I didn't know real love gives them back." I smiled because she was right. This whole experience taught us both a lesson we should have learned years ago. The people who truly love you will never demand your silence, your fear, or your pain. They lift you higher, not break you down. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from the person you once thought you couldn't live without. Emily found her strength again. I found my daughter again. And the courtroom, the place where everything broke, became the place where everything finally healed. As for Daniel, He walked away from the courtroom that day in handcuffs. And Emily walked out beside me, free for the first time in years. Because sometimes the truth doesn't just set you free, it saves you.